we've talked about intuition, authority. Now we're moving on to the third method, rationalism. What does that entail? Here, reasoning is used to arrive at knowledge, which means for us to have valid knowledge about something, we must employ the correct reasoning process for it. So, for us to arrive at what does this mean, we must have a proper way of linking things together to draw conclusion. So for example, we know the famous saying by Rene Descartes says, I think, therefore I am. But there is a problem with that. But let's leave that for now while I give a very clear example. If you look at the illustration on the left hand side, if A equals to B and B equals to C, those are the two premises. A means B or implies B, then B implies C. If these two premises are correct, then we can draw the conclusion that A equals to C based on the premises that we have drawn. However, this is my judgment. If other people draw or they start the process, the reasoning process, from a different angle or with different premises, then the two of us might come to a different conclusion. So for example, if I say A equals to C and B equals to D, then it becomes impossible for us to draw a conclusion that A is equals to C. So one of the dangers in using this approach only is that it is not unusual that we have two well-meaning people who have enough knowledge, or how can we say, they are honest about what they are trying to achieve, but they draw two different conclusions, even though the premises are the same. So basically what I'm trying to illustrate is that even though this system is based on reasoning and logic, at times, if we do not start with the correct reasoning process, we might end up with wrong conclusion. So two different people can look at the same situation and came to the conclusion that are different. However, in science, we do use this method of acquiring knowledge. We use it when we are deriving hypotheses, just like we use intuition as well. So we'll get into hypothesis formulation later. So for example, if I say there is a statistically significant relationship between number of hours spent studying and final exams scores, I'm using rationalism there, because I think and I based on the logic that if you study well, you're likely to get a better score in the exam. So I'm doing a kind of reasoning now, drawing logical conclusion that if this happens, there is a probability, a higher probability that this will also happen. So we use the hypothesis now is now something that can be tested to now ascertain whether it is true or we have to falsify it. Okay, so remember, rationalism draws on using correct reasoning process to acquire knowledge. However, there is possibility that two people can look at the same premises and draw different conclusions. Rationalism is valid in science, especially when we are deriving hypotheses. But using it alone is not sufficient for acquiring knowledge. So, now let's move on to the fourth and the final method of acquiring knowledge, which is empiricism. For empiricism, there's a system to it, which means it's well developed and there's a systematic and well developed philosophy around it. If we look at it at a very simple way, a very, very naive way, we can look at it that if I have experienced something, then it is valid. I've felt air blow over my face, then there's air. Or I believe I've seen a ghost, then there's ghost, there's existence of ghost. But when we look at it this way, it can be misleading. Okay, because the origin, it is believed that if you kind of look at it in this very naive form, at times it is not everything that you can experience. It is not everything that is observable. Let me give you an example. The ultraviolet radiation, the electromagnetic radiation that is coming from the sun, the entire spectrum, very few of it we can feel, we can perceive. There are some of the electromagnetic spectrum, some of the part of the radiation that we cannot see. For example, infrared. We cannot see it, but it is there. So, are we going to say because we have not experienced it, it is invalid? This is not true. So this is, looking at the naive form of it, it can be misleading. So the origin, it is believed with empiricism that the origin of everything is, of all knowledge, is sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. So if I have not experienced it, then it is not true. But we know that there are so many things that our senses cannot perceive, yet we know that they are there. So, but empiricism is based on that, okay, what I've experienced is true. But we also know that many times our motivation at a particular time of perceiving something can alter what we see. For example, if I'm angry and you expose me to something, I might not see it. If somebody is angry and you're showing them all sorts of different things, if you're angry and you're in this class, it's possible that I will be saying some things and you're actually not here, so you are not listening to me and you are not hearing me, even though you are hearing me, but you are not hearing me. So if I ask a question, there is tendency for you to say, no, you have never taught us that, which we all know will be a lie. It is just because you are not paying attention. So also, relying only on our experience is also a bad thing. That is why at times I usually have a little bit of problem when people go to ask people about what did they think of what happened in 1995, 2015, or you go to farmers or to dwellers and ask them what was their experience. They might not be able to give you accurate information. Even though they have experienced it, our memory can be misleading because we might not remember very well, and we might also distort the information as things pass by over time. So, however, it is the best out of the four method. It's better than intuition, it's better than authority, it's better than rationalism, because it is based on observation. It is objective, so we let evidence dictate the conclusion. Okay, and it is also carried out in a systematic way, so which means we have to observe, we have to gather data, we have to repeat the observations so that we can draw conclusions that are objective. We can do it under controlled condition, in order to minimize bias and make sure that the conclusion we are going to be drawing is more robust, which means we're maximizing the objectivity. So out of the four, it is better, and it is the method that we use most of the time in empiricism. So we are not using the naive approach, which means it's only when I experience it. It could be when I have instruments that can observe it, that can record data about it, or when I can collect data about so many number of people who can corroborate or ascertain that this actually happened. Then I can make conclusion that this is this and that is that. So it's actually one of the best way, it's the best way out of the four that have been highlighted in this presentation. So as we draw to the end now, you should be able to answer these questions. What is the difference between rationalism and empiricism? In what way is intuition method or approach relevant for use in scientific inquiry? Can you say when we use intuition in science? Describe how you might describe or how you might use authority in scientific research. Basically, explain when will it be useful? When will authority as a method of acquiring knowledge be useful in scientific research? What is empirical approach, or why is empirical approach superior to the other method? If you can answer all these questions, then you know that you will be able to achieve the outcome or the learning outcome set for this section. Thank you.